I'm ready to record now.
All right.
Late to the Movies, podcast and lyrics by Ben Holt and Drew Barrymore. We're late to the movies.
I like it. You just want to get after it. I like it. We got to get through this. I got things to do.
Pop goes my heart. That's my first note.
That's not even a pun. That's just the line.
But I capitalized my.
You could have said pod.
He emphasized
Pod goes my heart.
I just said pop. I didn't even.
Pop goes my podcast.
What's that? This is going to be a weird one.
He's got a thrusting injury.
No.
This is going to be a weird
Gonna
one.
need a hip replacement.
Yeah. Good movie.
It is a really good movie.
Yeah, that's as good a place as any to start, I guess. As you guys know, I don't really know how to start yet, so it'll be something like that or something like Welcome to Late to the Movies. My name's Ben Holt, and this is a podcast where every week my friends and I get to fill in our movie blind spots by picking a movie that at least one of us hadn't seen before. This week, the movie is continuing Romcom Month. It's music and lyrics, Hugh Grant, Drew Barrymore, etc. Yeah, this is a fun movie.
I love this movie.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time with it. Same as last week, the crew got back together. We just need to talk this one up again. Left to right, once again, it's Greg,
Hey.
Ray,
Hi.
and Robbie.
Wah.
All
And
right.
Robbie will be playing Waluigi in this.
In this rendition of Late to the Movies.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's gonna be that kinda night.
Yeah, it's gonna be a weird one. Before we get too much into the movie, as always, I am curious. I had seen this before. You guys had seen this before, right?
Yeah, we've seen this one
Yep.
a couple times.
Yep.
Robbie, you thought you might have, but it turns out probably not.
Did you guys make me watch this in college?
It's possible.
I think I've seen the DVD case and parts of it. So I feel like you guys had it in your dorm room and it was on and I saw bits, but as soon as I watched it, it was brand new for me. I had no recollection of any plot points.
I think that's been fair game for the podcast before, is if you've only seen bits and pieces, then it counts. The premise still applies, which is good, because otherwise we'd have to stop right here.
It felt very
That's
new
it.
to me, and I feel like I can approach it with a very new mindset. I really didn't remember anything where I was even other movies, I'm like, oh, I remember that scene
Yeah.
from clips.
For sure.
Zero. So
I saw this movie in theaters, and maybe once or twice since then, but certainly not recently, and probably not in the last 10 years. So it was, I don't know, it was cool to revisit a very specific time culturally for the music industry, for fashion, for a bunch of stuff. One thing I picked up on this time, remind me to tell you later, because we're not there yet. We're going to talk a little bit about what you guys have been watching. As always, that's what we like to do next. I'm going to cut out one of the times I've said as always, because I think I've already said it 3 times in the first 2 minutes.
So, as always, we've watched nothing recently. We were on 2 weeks ago.
I think it was last week, wasn't
It
it?
was last weekend. Yeah, we watched nothing
We've still
this
been
week.
watching Spirited Away.
Still watched Spirit
Beatles
Nice.
versus the Machines made it into the rotation this week, which
Nice.
was nice.
Yeah, but
Hey,
it's just-
Academy Award nominee.
Yeah,
Just
so
whatever
that was on
children
theme.
want.
Yep.
Although we are excited because it is almost time. We got those nominations now, so
We do
So we're
have
gonna be rock
those
and rolling soon.
nominations now. Before we can get into that a little bit, but I don't want to shortchange you. Is there anything you've watched this week?
I watched a YouTube video from the Gravel Institute on a FBI agent catfishing a Muslim guy into committing hate crimes. So
Fun times.
fun times.
Well,
we just discussed that. It's great.
don't talk too much about it. We're gonna do a pod on that.
I don't think we want to. It's very sad. He was a very lonely man that got catfished and is incredibly sad.
Though that is the type that gets catfished most often. And then sometimes football players from Notre Dame. So.
Well,
All right. So, what did I watch this week? I'm glad you asked me. Since the last time we recorded, I did watch Jackass Forever. It is real good. There's plenty of ink that's been spilled about, it as a sort of takedown and parody of toxic masculinity. And at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of friends hanging out, and the pandemic's been hard, and it's cool to see people hanging out and just hitting each other in the nuts and making each other laugh.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. If it gets any nominations next year, then I'll probably watch it.
I mean, if they run Knoxville in supporting actor, I think he's got a chance.
Ben, what's your Mank pick this year? Your movie that we're gonna make fun of you for?
I can't tell you. I think
Is
all
it
the
Power of
movies
the
are
Dog?
good. I refuse to accept that it's Power of the Dog.
So I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm really excited to watch Power of the Dog.
Okay, good.
But I just know you said there was a movie you thought we might make fun of you for.
It's definitely Power of the
Mank.
Dog.
I would just say
I'm
there's
convinced it's Power of the Dog. I thought that as soon as you
so
said
there's
that.
actually probably 3 or 4 that I would consider
Licorice Pizza
stuff
was
I'm
the one
really
I thought
excited about.
Was the one you would be excited for, and we're not gonna. But I don't know.
That's probably so. I don't want to tell you anything that I'm excited for. I think you guys will just be like, no. I'd purposely avoid any context that would help you enjoy the movie, just so you dislike it more,
Well, now
like
I'm
you
just
did
gonna
with
have to do it
Mank.
with all of them.
Okay,
No, that's not what happened with Mank. We
So
said that
did you
we
watch Citizen Kane?
No.
we didn't even know
Okay.
it was about that. Why would we be like, you know what? Just before we
No,
watch
no, but
Mank,
we
let's
didn't-
watch
Yes, you
Citizen Kane.
did.
Just
we
in
didn't
case
go
it
into
happens to
Mank
be
being
about the
like
writing of
Ben
this.
loves this thing. Like we all watched it separately, and then you were the only one that was like Mank is awesome, and everyone else was like, no, Mank is awful.
Ben's
You
about to
say
change his
Mank
opinion.
is your rosebud?
No. If the last thing I say before I die is Mank, then you have full permission to make fun of me.
That'd be pretty cool.
I've never seen Citizen Kane, but I know rosebud is a key
It's a
from
thing,
it.
yes.
Yeah. Yes.
It means everything or nothing, and that's what the movie's about. It and about America.
All
Oh,
I
hell
know
yeah, I'm
is
just gonna say that about everything now.
Ben is really hyped up for Mank 2 whenever it comes out.
Like
Come
Mank
on,
2,
Mank.
Electric Boogaloo. I can't wait.
To Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, so I would say ones that I'm like really fond of that made it. Obviously, Power of the Dog I've mentioned before, Dune, Licorice Pizza. Those are all really amazing movies. Movies that I haven't seen yet.
Cruella.
What?
Cruella.
It didn't make Best Picture. What a snub.
It's weird.
Honestly, all 3 of those you mentioned, I'm actually really excited to watch.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see all of them.
I think
Licorice
you-
Pizza intrigues me because it does not sound like something I'd ever eat. But
No.
maybe I'll watch it.
Honestly, I know nothing about it, but the name they got me hooked in. I'm like, you
What
whatever, whoever like named this thing, you got me. Like that, good call. Because I'm like immediately like I gotta know what this is.
So it's set in the San Fernando Valley outside of LA in the 70s, and there was a chain of record stores around then called Licorice Pizza because a record looks like licorice pizza.
okay.
I do think some of you guys are going to bounce off it because it is not exactly a linear narrative. It's just sort of like different pieces taken out of time and just kind of like it's going to do this thing for 20 minutes and then it goes and does something else. It's the same main characters, but it's just like maybe it's a year in time, maybe it's just like a couple months and you just like pick up with them and you understand that circumstances have changed off screen or whatever.
Yeah, I think I'm just
cool.
in a
It's
good
pretty
mindset
loose.
for the Oscars this year because last year was pretty fire. So I'm like, I'm a lot more open to just jump right in.
We're back at the Dolby Theater, not at a train station this year, so it should feel a lot more normal.
Okay.
They were at
They were indeed at a train station last year.
it's a weird venue.
One other thing I should mention, Steven Soderbergh produced the much hated Oscars from last year that I loved because they were so weird. Most people didn't. He produced it. I guess it's him that chose for it. Like, let's do train station. Train station sounds good. He had a new movie come out this week called Kimmy. It's on HBO Max. It is one in now a series of movies that he's put out on HBO Max that are released with little to no fanfare, despite the fact that he is a major director. We recovered Contagion by him already on the podcast. He's, I think, the last director to be nominated for Best Director twice in the same year. This one's him trying to do some genre stuff, so I don't know. It'll be fun. I'm probably not going to be like, oh, it's like a new Ocean's 11, but it'll probably be good anyway. Yeah, he makes cool stuff. Contagion, you know Contagion.
I do know Contagion.
I hope so. We did an episode
That one,
on it.
yeah. And then it happened in real life too.
It did happen.
Yeah, 10 years later, it was oddly prescient. That's what we talked about in the episode. I'm glad you guys listened.
I only listen to myself
hold-
talk because I'm kind of conceited.
Hold that thinly veiled insult for 1 second.
Good transition. Who wants to give us a minute? I guess it has to be Robbie, but we've kind of been breaking from it. Always has to be the person who hasn't seen it. So if you don't feel like it, you don't have to.
I can do it.
Okay.
Pop goes my heart. Done.
All right, you saved 59 seconds.
Not bad.
So there's this guy. He is a songwriter. Well, I guess he's a musician. He's not really a songwriter because Drew Barrymore is a songwriter. But he has his regular plant lady out. So this random ass bitch comes to water plants, I guess. Although I don't think she's ever watered a plant in her life. That's besides the point. Natural born lyricist though, so that's good. So she helps him out, and they make a good song together for a very vapid pop star. But you know, there's a turn. There's some disagreement of like what the song should be. Should it be like a heartful, soulful thing, or should it be like a catchy, give me pop song? So they fight about it. They split up. She leaves for a bit. He kind of stays along, tries to do his own little thing, and you know, eventually writes a better song. Kind of gets it through this girl's head that like he loves her, and she goes along with that. And then you know, they get back together. They become successful songwriters. I don't know. It's not really that much in the movie. I feel like I summarized quite a bit.
Good, you did in about 50 seconds.
And bonus points for the use of the word vapid. Good
Vapid
vocab.
indeed. So yeah, your main characters are played by Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore. Hugh Grant, really the peak of his in like a rom-com every year stage. Drew Barrymore also doing a lot of rom-coms at this
National
time.
treasure, Drew Barrymore.
National treasure. Brad Garrett's in there as Hugh Grant's manager. This is Haley Bennett's playing Cora, the vapid pop star that Robbie mentioned.
I love Cora.
Yeah, she's 19 at the time and is now starring in the about to come out, or maybe it has. It got nominated for Oscars. Cyrano. She plays Roxanne in the new Cyrano opposite Peter Dinklage.
Okay. I knew she was in something with Peter Dinklage.
Oh.
Kristen Johnson from Third Rock from the Sun plays her Drew Barrymore's sister, who's also very funny.
Yeah, it was a good cast.
Those are the main people who like actually have mentionable lines. Her husband has a couple funny parts, but
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen him in things as that exact same character.
pretty much, yeah.
So, immediate thought. Last one we did, Sleepless in Seattle. More rom than com. More com than rom. And that's
Okay.
that's where I like to be in this world right here. More com than rom.
Yeah, this is more calm than Rom. You have
Yeah.
to with Hugh Grant just doing like his whole shtick.
I don't think he has more than one serious line in a row.
Yeah.
Like every other line he says is like a one-liner or some really sarcastic thing.
I would just love if he followed me around while I do my normal shit tornado thing and just said quippy one-liners while cleaning up my messes. It would just be such a perfect relationship.
Yeah.
That'd be
It's like
fun.
if he didn't have a British accent, it would be like just over the line into kind of patronizing and condescending.
Yes.
But with the British accent, you're like, okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're just
all right,
adorable.
all
Yeah.
right.
It's much more palatable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's much more palatable.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't know if there's anything we really need to focus on like big picture wise with this. So
I will say, so my big picture thing, I absolutely loved throughout the entire movie the portrayal of Cora, because it was just such a meta moment to me of like, you guys put this together and it's kind of like Victor Frankenstein making a big movie about how horrible his monster is. And it's like, oh, is the point that this pop star is so like superficial and consumed with like, who do you think made her? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just, you can throw rocks at a mirror as much as you want, but the mirror is just a broken mirror. Like, you're going to see your reflection just the same.
So this is written by and directed by Mark Lawrence, who I guess ruined the music industry. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no. I'm just like, you're a producer. You're part of the Hollywood machine, and you're making a movie about like how vapid and superficial pop stars are. But like, you made the pop stars.
Well, that's the music industry. The movie industry is very different.
Yeah. She made music. She wasn't in a
they're
movie.
very
Right.
different.
I'm sorry. That's where I got crossed. That's where the reflection
I
comes in.
love that character, Cora, in this. And I think it's because she's supposed to be, over the top, like this exaggerated pop star, but she's really not that exaggerated. Like every now and then she'll do something like, someone want to do that. And I'm like, but would they
Nope.
not do that?
No, they would. They would. My first note of like the Buddhist thing is like, this is so offensive to fake Buddhists, because Buddhists won't care. Like, they absolutely will not care. Like, that would not bother a Buddhist whatsoever, because this is not part of their religion. But someone who identifies as a Buddhist could be very offended by that. So I thought it was a perfect like
Yeah.
pick for like what to use.
Yeah, the fact that the first song we hear her singing is Buddhist delight, or I gotta get my Buddhist delight.
Jesus.
And then when she
Very
performs it on stage later, she starts by like dry humping this guy in like this Buddhist monk outfit. I'm like dying. I can't even.
That's exactly where the note came in. I was like, man, if Buddhists weren't so chill, this would be very offensive.
But like, and that's the thing. Like, wow, this is so over the top. And I'm like, but then you think about some of the stuff that you see like pop stars actually doing. You're like, if this movie hadn't already done this, someone else might have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So that's kind of applies to the whole movie, is that it's just like a little bit heightened, but not too much, but like a little bit, especially Drew Barrymore's character, Sophie, her characterization. That's just very strange. So what is her job, would you
She
say?
Works at that like
She works at
weight
her
loss
sister's weight
place.
loss place? Okay.
Yeah. because they inherited it from the mom. They said
Oh,
so. Like
right, yeah.
it's a
It
family.
really
thing.
seems more like her sister's thing.
It's definitely more her sister's.
Yeah.
thing.
Who hired her to water flowers? Who did
She
that?
had a friend who like couldn't make it.
Yeah, they never.
She's bad at it.
Bad
It's
judgment
fine.
on that friend's
Yeah.
part.
Horrible.
But
But like the characterization that's weird with her is that she just sort of jumps around, because in the first scene she's like a super hypochondriac, and that never comes back again.
Does not come back.
Never.
It's like she like excuses herself because she gets like basically a pinprick from a cactus, and she has to leave the room, and it doesn't come up again.
That's
No.
That's so. My second note was she asked how do you water the plants, and I was like, you just water them, and then apparently she touches them too. Like, it's a cactus, woman. Like, don't touch the cat. Have you seen a plant?
That one's plastic.
That was plastic. Yeah, so she's not good at watering plants.
I have very
So
many
the weird
notes about
thing
her
is,
being
like-
bad at the plants.
Why does she keep doing it though? After she gets like the next invite back, she still like waters his plants when she's at his house, even the ones that like she doesn't pay attention to, and she tries to
well,
kill them.
someone's gonna water him, right?
Well,
Yeah, but how
Hugh
far?
fucking Grant. He has like 6 plants. Why do you need someone to water them?
Well, he
Well,
hired
that's-
somebody to do
Brad
it.
Garrett asked him that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, he asked him why you have the plants in general.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Because it makes women comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I was with this woman once who said let plants make women comfortable, so I got plants.
Obvious plant.
Yeah. So writer director Mark Lawrence, he writes and directs 4 Hugh Grant rom-coms. He wrote the 2 Miss Congeniality movies and a couple other things, but those are the main points. Before this, with Sandra Bullock and Hugh Grant, he writes and directs 2 Week Notice. This is his second of the 4 Hugh Grant rom-coms that he writes and directs. There's no particular like interesting directorial stuff, I think. Too much with this movie. It sounds like I'm shitting on it. I'm not. I'm just saying, it is
It's a very typical rom-com.
yeah, I think it is an above replacement level rom-com, but basically hits all the same beats with just a little bit of weirdness with Drew Barrymore's whole deal. I like that the relationship is built around them sort of working together. That's cool.
Yeah, I like
That's
that.
pretty unique, I think.
When it comes to I like that a lot. I feel like you usually either have 2 people who start off as just like friends or absolutely hate each other, and I don't like rom-coms as much when it's like 2 people who hate each other. It just feels a little weird to me. Like I don't know, that never does it for me as much in a rom-com. I don't want them to just hate each other. It's just weird, and they go the other way with this one. You know what I mean? So I always like that a little bit better.
Me too. Yeah, they basically hit it off from the beginning.
I think I also just like the concept of this one where he's like a washed up pop star.
It's really fun.
Because just like the idea of like,
They get to have a lot of fun with that, and so does Hugh Grant.
especially like for our age range too, where we had all these like either pop stars or we had a lot of the boy bands where you're like, well, what happened to them kind of thing. And
They're
You know-
still playing. My little sister loves them.
the ones that were around for us though,
All-time
I-
low All-American rejects.
No,
like-
I'm talking about you.
one decade before that.
One
like
decade
Backstreet
before that.
Boys, Insane.
And I feel like
no,
those
no.
kinda,
Oh
like-
yeah, what the fuck happened to them?
I feel like in the last like 5 years, you heard a little bit more about what's like happened with them and stuff. But yeah, like, though they just kind of fade away kind of thing. And you're like, well, what do they do? And like you wonder a lot of times, you don't know a lot about like how the music industry works. You're
Backstreet
like,
is not back.
we know what Justin Timberlake's doing, but do you remember the other people in NSYNC?
Oh,
Yeah.
he's the bass on the wall, right?
so you always wonder like, do they still have money? Like what's happening? And then you see like, you get to.
Oh, NSYNC has no money because they never got any money.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Backstreet Boys didn't get any money. I don't know about NSYNC.
They had the same manager.
Okay,
Yeah.
then both of them then.
Yeah. So
But
it's kind of
Backstreet
fun
Boys
to,
is
like,
doing okay now because they got back together and they're touring.
Yeah.
Backstreet is back.
Backstreet
All
is
right.
back.
Yeah,
All right.
they've been touring. They tour
No,
pretty
they're right.
regularly because they got nothing else to do.
That was they mentioned in this movie. They were like, oh, like people coming back is in. Like there's a Spice Girls reunion.
Yeah.
It's like the
Madonna's
Backstreet
always
Boys are
touring.
back. Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, so it was interesting to like follow him and like,
Yeah, it's great.
it's starting with his like music video is really funny too. Cause like they're like that music video just kills me
It's
too. Cause I'm
wicked
like, this is like, this could have been an 80s music video. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
all
just
the
a
songs
little
slap.
over the top.
All
Yeah.
the songs in the movie slap.
They're
My
so
Heart is a
good.
banger.
I love that.
So good.
So yeah, this is a good time to talk about it. It starts with like the most thing that I remembered about this movie is obviously "Pop Goes My Heart,"
Yeah.
and that it starts with the video that goes into that thing, and then at the end of the end credits is a pop-up video parody with that music video. The music video is so good. Yeah, it is exactly. The premise is that it's basically Wham, and the other guy, not Hugh Grant, becomes George Michael. And
Yep.
Hugh Grant's just some guy that was in Wham.
Did not
Um,
realize that was
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
George Michael like.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the other guys goes on to be legitimately a huge star for the rest of time. Says,
Yeah.
apparently, but
I love them mentioning all the stuff he does too. And he's got his own cologne, the whiff of Colin.
with Colin. Yeah.
Sir Colin.
As soon as I
Yes, sir,
as soon as I saw that, I was like, yes, absolutely, somebody's done that. That's the thing.
And the production on that montage thing is like, that's exactly how TV was at that time.
All I could think of is
Yeah.
like,
I feel like they even capture like the graininess.
Yes.
yes, even like the little outro where they do it with like the little pop ups to like
Yeah.
finish the movie essentially. Both of those, I was like, I could picture seeing this on like MTV when I was like a kid and didn't go to school one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The one
definitely.
over the outro is explicitly a parody of Pop-Up Video, which I don't know if you guys remember, but that's Pop-Up
so,
Video.
Yeah.
I think even by 2007, when this movie came out, I don't know if we've said that yet, that was pretty much just about done. But I remember growing up watching a lot of Pop-Up Video.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that the kind of twist is that it's all these 80s people and it's Battle of the 80s has-beens that he's in a conference room trying to sell him on. And it's just basically celebrity death match, but just 80s musicians.
Okay.
Yes.
And take Flock of Seals.
Yeah. Big flock of seagulls.
We toured with them once and we kicked their ass every night.
And I love how it keeps coming back throughout the movie.
Oh, did you see Battles of the 80s Aspen?
That Debbie Gibbs can take a punch.
Yeah,
So
that's
when they first presented that Debbie Gibson, I didn't like it didn't seem like it was segregated by gender. And I was like, they're just having the 80s pop stars go at it? Like Debbie Gibson had to take on Flock of Seagulls? Like
Yes.
but I
much,
feel like
yeah.
later on they made it clear that it was like there was two women fighting each other on it. So I think they
Did
did
they make
segregate.
that
I wasn't sure even by the end that they
so-
were segregated.
By the end, they had one on the TV, and it was two female pop singers from the 80s boxing. So, like, I assume that, like, but it really didn't come across that way at first.
Yeah. Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like you said, the fact that it just kept coming back, like I really liked all the calm in
I
this
would watch
rom-com.
Battles of the 80s.
I would definitely watch Battle of the 80s.
I would too, for
Yeah.
sure.
Now, I don't know.
Maybe
that's a
90s.
death match.
Mm.
And it's it's just so funny that this movie came out 15 years ago, and I think if you show this to kids today, you'd really have to explain what a record store is, because they're in a huge Tower Records in New York that was between when they filmed that scene and the movie came out, that record store closed. Every Tower Records store closed. So.
Wow.
And I also think like it's really just like a sign of the times that kids will not understand that he's so upset and embarrassed that his record's on sale for $9.99.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I have terrible news for musicians and compensation today.
Yeah.
That's a million times your going rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Need to have like I think like 10 million plays to make $9.99 on Spotify right now. So.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned the music before, so I should also mention that the music in this movie is by Adam Schlesinger. Unfortunately, he just passed away, I think, last year from COVID. He was only in his 50s, maybe. And he is the songwriter and the bass player for Fountains of Wayne, and also got a couple Emmys throughout his career. He worked on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and won a couple Emmys for that, and is just an amazing songwriter. He did the music for That Thing You Do. You probably haven't seen the movie, but you'd probably recognize that song. And also Fountains of Wayne, a super underrated band.
Fountains of Wayne.
He is a wonderful songwriter. They do not have a bad album, so start anywhere if you want to jump into them.
Or start with his music from this movie.
Yeah.
It's funny when I was thinking, I was like, somebody had to compose this music, and then I was hoping that like it was the same story, that like them putting the story together, but like you know what I mean.
I did wait till the end to watch the credits, and Hugh Grant did perform those songs.
I said the same
we did the same
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
He did, yeah. And Drew Barrymore sang her little part too. So.
Yeah.
Yep. Some of the lyrics are by the guy who wrote it, Mark Lawrence. Is what his name was. And some of the lyrics,
a plant lady come in, and
and some of the lyrics are also by his son, who I think was like 12 or 13 at the time that he wrote them, because whatever, there were no rules back then for movie making. But yeah, Hugh Grant does his own songs. I think it's pre-recorded. He's not like doing it live in the concert scenes, but it still sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
The scene where
really
he's
all the music was
I considered downloading the last song. I was like, I like
Buddha's
this one a lot.
Delight.
Buddha's Delight. No, what was the? I have a note. It says this song slaps.
Way
and I can't
Back Into
remember which one
Love?
it is.
yeah, I was
it's
gonna
kind of what the movie ends on.
the main one,
The Way Back Into My Heart. Yeah.
Oh, Way
Way
Back
Back
into
into Love.
Way Back into Love.
yeah,
I like
Way
that.
Back into
That's
Love.
good.
It was
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
And Pop Goes My Heart is great.
Pop Goes My Heart is
The one he writes
forever.
too for Drew Barrymore's character is really nice too.
It is.
Oh, I like Love Autopsy.
Love Autopsy is really fun.
Autopsy, yeah.
You rhymed you and me with autopsy.
No, you can make that work.
Not necessarily bad.
Yeah, just
Good stuff.
yeah. Honestly, it was. I really like Hugh Grant's character. Like his like sarcasm that he like throws out. It just really vibes with me. It kills me every single time, and it's literally every other line is just like
Have
sarcastic.
you seen 2 Weeks Notice?
I don't think so.
I feel like he's like almost the same character in 2 Weeks Notice.
Yep, same writer director. So
Yeah,
it
he's
only
a
comes
little-
out, I think,
yeah,
a couple years
yeah.
before.
He's a little bit like less likable in 2 Weeks Notice, I think, but
And he's Sandra Bullock's boss in that one.
yeah.
So it's a little more fraught relationship wise too.
Mm.
They start off hating each other too, so you
Yeah, I
probably
don't
won't-
like that as much.
Yeah.
I really liked Alex, like Hugh Grant's character and the manager. I already forgot the manager's name. It's
Oh, it's Bob from Everybody Loves
Garrett.
Raymond.
Brad Garrett.
I
Yeah.
forget his character's name.
Chris?
I just knew him
Brad
as
Garrett.
Ray Romano's older brother.
Yes.
I think his name is Chris. The manager's name is Chris.
But yeah, I liked their relationship a lot. I like when they go through their. He's like, "Do you want to do pros and cons?" Pros, huge amount of money. Cons, you'll eventually, or you'll
In
eventually
40
die either
years.
way. Yeah.
In 40 years, we'll both be dead and none of this actually matters.
Yeah. Okay, so huge amount of money versus eventual death.
Oh, excuse me. Can you come to the bathroom with me? It's okay. He's a good guy.
But then she leaves and he's like,
Yeah. That's a very funny scene. One thing I did want to ask you guys. So we're talking about a scene where Sophie and Alex, Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore are out at dinner with Brad Garrett and his wife, and Drew Barrymore sees this guy that we haven't mentioned yet. This plot that is perhaps not necessary. Her college professor that she worked with stole basically her life story and turned it into like this weird, soapy kind of like psycho stalker thing. And then like became a hugely successful author with that story. Anyway, he shows up at the restaurant that they're having dinner at, and she kind of freaks out. And Hugh Grant's like, "Oh, you gotta, tell him how you feel finally." And then that's when he goes and gets Brad Garrett's wife, so she can change into that lady's dress, which does fit differently to her, as she notes. And so my question to you guys is that a good therapist? Because Brad Garrett's wife is a therapist, and she's like, you know what? You should walk over to that guy and make a huge scene in public about this thing that like you haven't been able to let go of for years.
I think she says that she's not a good therapist.
Yeah,
though,
she says, "Wow, after all these years of therapy, I finally actually helped somebody." And she says,
Did she?
"Well, she said it just from giving her the dress." Like
Oh, yeah, just the dress.
yeah,
I mean, I guess the public thing makes it bad, but it's good to confront somebody that bothers you because I mean, I think her job as a therapist would probably be to be like, I don't know, Slade's an asshole in the movie, but like, is him taking their story and twisting it to write a book really a villainous thing? Like, that's what authors do every day, all the time. Like, she identified with that character. It wasn't named after her. She did that.
my thought was that he
Yeah.
did this to like get
Out of the trouble with the wife,
out
right?
of the trouble with the wife. That's why I thought it was like, oh, he's a bad dude. It's,
That was
Yes.
kind of the line for me as
Yeah.
well, as like if this was part of the lie to the wife, yes, but like if he's just taking something that happened in his life and turning it into a different story, that's all right.
yeah,
Yeah, well, that's basically what Hugh Grant's telling her when she's running down like all the things that he took. She's like, "Well, yeah, that could be like anybody," and she's like, "And the character runs a health business with her sister that their mom left them when she died." It's like, okay, well, that is really specific.
that was oddly
It's very
specific.
I would say he was a good artist.
Yeah, and she's mostly hung up on like he calls her a bad writer essentially,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
like shakes her confidence. I'm just saying, I think the therapist might encourage you to be like, maybe you don't have anything to prove to this guy.
Yeah,
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Maybe write a letter and send it in a week if you still feel that
Keep
way.
it in drafts.
Maybe she was banking on that, like, oh, this is going to be bad for her, and she's going to need a therapist. Like, here's my
New
card.
client.
That's true. She might be like, you know what? I don't work off hours. I'm not telling you what to do with your life.
yeah.
I'm going to get a new client out of this.
You're not paying me for this shit. So yeah, take the dress. Good luck.
That's what Pat
I'll
tells
see
me
you
all the time.
tomorrow. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That first scene that Hugh Grant's performing in the ballroom of all middle-aged moms. Good scene.
Good
Good
scene.
scene.
Yes.
So funny.
And I like
He's
too,
having such a good time.
he's having a good time. They're all like screaming every now and then they show like the background. All the guys are just sitting at tables like, what the fuck is happening? Like,
All the
yeah,
husbands
we're like,
left behind.
yeah, they're all like rolling their eyes in the background and shit.
Yeah.
And I did like that too, because like, I don't know, it kind of like evolves where it keeps showing his shows and they're kind of like worse and worse. And you do like hit a point where you're like kind of feeling bad. You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, this is like kind of like almost awkward how like sad this is, especially when he's at like the carnival or whatever. And
Yeah.
then fucking Drew Barrymore is telling him about how he should be proud to sing his songs, how good they are. And I'm just like, man, Drew Barrymore, you are a fucking treasure. Look at you. Like, you were just
Yeah.
the best.
And I
This is
like
garbage.
I feel like the character that Brad Garrett's playing normally would be sort of like wary of this woman coming in and kind of like inserting herself into this guy's professional life. That's his client. But he's mostly just like happy to have her there.
Yeah.
which I feel like is really nice.
Yeah.
Well, they had the songwriter play that part instead. You know, like the one that
pretty
she
much.
took the job from, because he's not there a ton, but like especially at the end where they're playing the song and he's just like head back in the crowd, like
That guy was pretty funny.
he was.
Greg, I want to say his name was.
He's got to get back to his
Yeah,
job
he's
at
typing-
Hallmark.
He's playing the Greg
He's-
archetype.
Yeah. He's got to get back to his job at Hallmark. I think he refers to him as the angel of death.
Yes, Greg, the Angel of Death.
Yes.
The song was so bad.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine it was not supposed to be sung like that. I imagine it was like a,
Supposed to be more
heavy
moans.
metal.
Yeah. One thing that is really interesting about this, and yeah, the only thing that's interesting about this movie, I definitely wouldn't have picked up on this at the time, but there's a lot of weirdly specific theme park content and jokes in this. They mentioned Knott's Berry Farm so many times. The movie takes place, I think, entirely in New York and a little bit in Long Island. And Knott's Berry Farm is in California, and they just don't stop talking about it.
Mm.
And like the big thing is like they don't want him anymore. And he's like, I got to get more dates at Knott's Berry Farm. Something I wouldn't have picked up on then, but now there's some very good podcasts about theme park nerdery. The best one's called Podcast The Ride. I shout out Blank Check a lot, so I'll also mention Podcast The Ride. Why not? As another podcast I really like and listen to. That's a very funny podcast hosted by three dudes who are all like trained improv guys who just talk about theme park shit. Anyway, Adventureland, where he performs in this, is in Long Island. And there's no reason for them to be that specific or use real theme park names. And it's just kind of weird to me that they do. And Adventureland literally is in Long Island and was, in case you're wondering, the inspiration for the movie Adventureland that Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart are in.
Okay.
I was wondering that. Okay.
Yeah. In that movie, it's in like Pennsylvania or something, but it's based on the writer of that movie's childhood memories of growing up in Long Island and going to that Adventureland. Anyway, all this to say, I find it really strange that they like specifically name these different theme parks.
Is there something with Knott's Berry Farm though?
Not really.
Okay.
That's the thing is like, I don't know why they mentioned Great Adventure also, which is a Six Flags theme park in New Jersey. So it's just kind of weird to me that they wouldn't just use like sort of like a catch-all term for these different things that he's playing. Cause they say like
Disney World.
Yeah, they do
Disney
like the
World was,
whatever
like, the A+.
state fair.
Yeah.
or
Was it Busch
whatever.
Gardens was the other one that was his big one?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I
It's his
think-
other staple.
I think it's my thought, and I don't know.
I just feel like in movies like this, they usually
the apple
use fake
picking
names.
is a
is all.
go.
Yeah. Maybe it's just I have no idea why. It is a good question. I get the theme park thing because like he's washed up, so it's like this is his like dream is better theme parks is like the big accomplishment.
Well, when he was at Adventureland, I like literally just like superimposed him to like downtown Six Flags New England that we've been to all because
Yeah,
it fit
yeah.
in
I was
so
thinking, like,
well.
Canopy
That's
Lake
exactly what it
Park.
looks like. Yeah, Canopy Lake. Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. So yeah, it just really struck me as odd. It's like, why are you taking the time to like mention several real places
Well, I almost
when you
wonder
could just
if,
be like, Superland or whatever, and people would understand the shorthand.
Maybe
that
they just
you're
weren't
using.
creative enough to come up with a convincing
Maybe
theme park name.
It's just someone really into Knott's Berry Farm on staff.
I kind of wonder now too, like of all the times we've been to Six Flags, if there was like a washed up '80s singer singing
You wouldn't
there
even
that
know.
we never even know. Like
Quite
especially
often.
if they didn't like announce themselves. Like any of those singers could have absolutely been members of any '80s band.
Yeah.
I would have no clue.
It's
This is really, really off topic, but remember our senior trip we went to Six Flags?
Yes.
There was this guy there that Greg and I still talk about to this day who worked at Six Flags. And when we were going to go and have lunch there, his job was to stand maybe it was about 100 yards away from where the food was on this bridge. And he had to tell people it smells really bad here, but it doesn't smell near the food.
I still remember
That was his job.
His job.
Like he was just posted there all day. We heard him tell multiple people. So I'm like, yeah, I know we know it smells really bad over here, but it doesn't over there.
I feel like I'd come back with
Why
a
would
piece
he
of paper
have
and
to
a
tell anyone
Sharpie
that?
and just write what he said next to him and stick it to the bridge and then leave.
Because people were like upset because they were heading to lunch and it smelled real bad. And they were like, oh, I don't want to eat now. So he had to just
Yeah.
keep telling people it didn't smell over there.
That's a fun job for an adult to have.
I mean, it might have been a teenager at
Yeah,
that
it
point.
probably
I don't
was.
know.
I mean,
but-
Six Flags New England is all teenagers who do not care about their jobs. One of them
This is
tried
why.
to kill me once. Yeah, no, I don't know.
That's pretty off topic.
Sorry, we were
yeah,
talking
well, hey,
about
Six Flags New England.
weird jobs at Six Flags. It was this one.
Just standing out there in the,
For all-
humid New England summer.
For all you know, he was a washed up 80s star.
it could have
Yeah.
been.
That was he used to be in
some guy
Wham.
that shit his pants on a bridge.
Yeah, that guy used to be in Wham.
He's the keyboardist in Duran Duran. Yeah,
We
so
wouldn't
Where are they
know.
today?
No, I wouldn't
I
even
really
know
like-
Duran.
His job could have been a sign.
I forget what.
And instead, he just had he had a stand where it smelt all day.
I forget what
It
Hugh Grant
smells right here.
said.
you think he was having like a personal problem and he like looked for a really elaborate excuse? Like, guys, I know. It's
Just
terrible
go
over here.
away.
Please keep walking. You're making me very self-conscious. I mean, it'll be better over there.
I really liked in I think it was like right in the beginning. I don't remember if it's when he's talking to Sophie or his manager, but Hugh Grant says something like, "Everything good I've ever done is in the past. Everything good I've ever done or ever will do is in the past, and that's fine."
Yeah, it's when he's
And I'm
when
okay
he's
with it.
in the conference room with the Battle of the 80s Has-Beens thing.
that's what he said.
He's like, they tell him like, oh, a lot of them have had difficulty with the term has-been. He's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no, I love being a has-been.
I'm a happy has-been.
I'm happy as
Like on that, I think I forgot what Drew Barrymore said. Something of like, "Oh, I'm afraid I've messed everything up." And her sister goes, "How unusual for you." I just wrote based.
It was also funny.
Man, every line in this movie was just fun.
What is she when the sister meets Hugh Grant's character and she's asking for like trying to talk to him with the autograph? I think he says something like, "Oh, are you married?" And she goes, "Only for 16 years, but nothing set in stone."
I'm gonna start saying that.
Yeah.
So good.
And she's trying to get the picture with him, and she's like, "Somebody could have sculpted us in this
Yeah.
time."
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna do this.
Let me take it.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore needs to leave rooms very quickly all the time in this movie.
Yeah.
That's kind of her thing.
Yeah.
Know what her thing is in this movie that I
Hear
absolutely
that.
love him is her putting the stuff on the piano.
Yeah.
Because it happens like 3 or 4 times where she's like putting all her shit down one at a time on this piano, and he's just sitting there like taking it off the piano.
That's why I was like, I wish I had a Hugh Grant to just follow me around and like I just throw things everywhere, and Hugh Grant just puts them where they should go. It's
Oh,
amazing.
you know what was a nice touch though? How like he complained that she came in and like moved all the furniture around and stuff, but when she was gone, he couldn't move the furniture back because it was too heavy, and he needed her there to put it back.
Mhm.
I like that too.
Good
Yeah.
touch.
It was
That's a good
nice.
touch.
It was.
It's just,
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't try to make him super masculine. Like even when he was trying to fight the guy in the
Yeah.
restaurant, I was like, this is sad. This is
Yes.
very
They
sad.
make a lot of jokes about how tight his pants are.
Yeah.
Yeah, what does he say? He says, "My it helps my blood flow to my heart."
Pop goes his heart.
Yeah,
Mm.
I really like too that they keep having like this reoccurring thing about the hip problems because of the patented pop dance move or whatever. I'm really sad that all the podcast listeners are gonna miss my patented nick. I keep doing. I'm like that weird like thrust with the weird wrist twist.
The wrist movement.
He
Yeah,
does.
this little
Everyone's
wrist movement.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was doing it all day today, and I'm gonna keep doing it. Like around my house and stuff, I like dance around, do the little like hip hop thing.
Would you even be a dad if you didn't?
I know. What does he say about it when he's complaining that his hips hurt? Now he says, "My God, I've suffered for my art."
Oh,
He's very good.
man, I wish I was friends with this character.
I know, right? I like that he has, as he sometimes does, a little bit more edge in this movie. I like that. I like him in this mode. Yeah, I think he's just full jerk in Bridget Jones, and like kind of almost full jerk in American Dreams with a Z. And sometimes he's just like a good dude, and I don't know. It doesn't work as well. I think this kind of like prickishness that he has in this movie is really good.
I don't think I've seen that many Hugh Grant movies.
Yeah, I think
pretty good.
I really like his character in this one because he really isn't mean. He says a lot of like kind of rudish, sarcastic things, but the way he delivers them, they don't really come off as that rude. And a lot of times he like fires them back at himself like right away. You know what I mean? So like he says something about her and how she is hiding behind that like Sally Michaels book character and stuff, and he says something, "I know I have a very powerful insight," or something like that. He says, "I'd look at myself, but I know there's nothing wrong with me, so I don't need to."
Yeah, he said I'd use it on myself, but
Yeah.
I have no problems.
Yes, I have no problems. So like every time he does say something that like is almost rude, he like follows up with something. And you're like, "Oh, okay," and like I don't know. I like it better with rom-com where like all the characters are just great. I love them all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even their like typical like I don't know what you call it in a rom-com, that part they have to have where they like split apart.
Yep.
It wasn't that bad in this one. You know, he says something kind of mean and kind of rude to her, but at least they're under a lot of pressure at the time too, and like he immediately goes and apologizes, but like you know what I mean? It could have been way worse.
I did feel pretty strongly about that part actually, because he said the book was right about you. And that's one of those phrases that I don't think her as an actual person, not as a movie character, would ever really be able to get out of her head. Like that's a really deep cutting. And it's one of those things that can happen in any kind of fight, I guess. But that was just,
I think it's because he follows it up though with something like the things he says the book is right about her. aren't like
aren't the same things that she
thinks.
Okay.
It's because it's not like the book was right about you. You're a bad writer. It's like the book was right about you. Like you're afraid to
do these
things,
which were common character. Okay.
So that's why I was like, oh, it's not as bad. It could have been a lot worse.
It could have.
It could have been a lot worse.
You were just using me to get rich too, or whatever.
Yeah, he didn't accuse her of like the bad things. It was like, you know, there are a lot of things he just said like that is true, but they were like. It was almost like when a job interview asks you your biggest weakness. It was like it's right about you, and it's like you are you're not brave enough to know like how good you are at all these things or something. Basically, is how he said it. And I was like,
I see what you're saying. That's true. It's true. He more pointed out her things that she needs to overcome to become a better person than like the horrible things that.
Granted, I knew it was coming, and still the whole time, like I'm like, oh man.
I'm having a good. It's a good ride so far.
Yeah, I don't want this to come.
I wanted to get off at the amusement park. That was when I messaged the group. I was like, all right, this is good. This is a perfect movie. Hour and 5 minutes in, we're good.
Twice in my notes, I wrote down that Drew Barrymore is a treasure, and I definitely wrote down Hugh Grant is not a treasure after what he's done to Drew Barrymore.
I think Hugh Grant is
I can't forgive him for this.
I was going to say, I think the other thing too is it's not as bad what he said to her. I think she would be able to get over it because she's like growing as a person, because she was so upset about it because she wasn't confident in her writing.
Okay.
And now she's writing hip hop songs, and you know, he's kind of like helped her see that what she's doing is really good and really important. And
yeah, sometimes some people need to hear the tough shit.
Yeah.
I like their little like twist in the end too when they're at the Cora concert and they come out to sing the song. And it's like music and lyrics by Alex Fletcher, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
I've seen this movie so many times, and every time I'm like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, like it stinks. Like, oh no! Especially too because like that's what happened with what's his name, Phil. I think the main guy from Pop. Alex says he steals his like the last 3 songs they write together, and that's what makes his solo album. Like him,
yeah, Colin, right?
I missed that part. Okay,
yeah, he says Colin runs off to like make a solo album, and he steals the last 3 songs they wrote together. So then like he she thinks he stole her song now. But I like that little.
And with
twist.
it, he stole his mojo because clearly you could still write good songs.
Yeah, but I did like that too because it because it gives Drew Barrymore excuse to leave, and then it puts her in that like hallway, and that scene's real good where she's like almost like crying coming down the aisle of the concert, like watching him sing the song. And
I'd be annoyed if there was a person standing in the aisle.
I was kind of thinking that too.
Yeah,
keep going. What
Some
are you
usher
doing?
would come yell at you, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, hey, you can't just stand here, lady. The song is about me. Yeah, no, sure it is.
Yeah. Yeah, you and every other girl at this concert.
She wasn't blocking anyone's view.
That whole like concert scene in the end, I couldn't help but think like this seemed like it was expensive because
That
it's like
was-
a legit like concert.
Yeah, not actually at Madison Square Garden as it says on the outside of the building, but still in New York State. It's at Nassau Coliseum, which is in Long Island once again. But Nassau Coliseum posing as Madison Square Garden for this movie
Because there was like big props on the set and like a lot of
it was
extras.
like an actual. Yeah, I was trying to
And,
figure
like,
out if
light
that was
show and
from an
stuff.
actual concert, and
That's
then
what I
they
was
just
thinking.
like,
I was like,
we're gonna take 20 minutes and film this.
I was thinking that. I was like, I wonder if it was for an actual concert and they just stuck in the filming because
usually how they do that.
it would have been way cheaper.
Oh, do they
Yeah,
really?
that giant Buddha statue,
Yeah.
though.
The thing that threw me off was the giant Buddha statue. I was like, no one is using this for a concert.
They just didn't tell anyone it was fake singers. They were like, here's a concert. Enjoy it.
I really like too when Cora starts singing and she immediately like, strips down to like naked, and the mom's covering the daughter's eyes, and the husband and the son are like wicked into it. She's like, "Hey," he's like, "We're just watching."
Just watching. Yeah, that's funny.
I do love how what's the word? Like she was mean to him or like bossy to him or whatever, but like even with her immediately after, like when they were going to like, okay, go. All right, I love you. I'm sorry, go. You know what I mean? Like
You're a good man.
You're a good man. I love you.
You're a good man.
I love too when she's telling. It's like in the middle of the movie when they like hint at the fact that Hugh Grant's going to do something big like this. When she's like, "Well, how do you know?" And he's like, "Well, they do a gesture. You know, something this one big gesture that you know, like they did this for you." And it's like, for me, it was when he told his mother, "I'm marrying her anyway," and she just goes, "God, I hate that woman."
It's like I imagine you two have a deep, rich history.
Yeah.
I'm marrying her anyway.
So that's a good segue into talking about structurally. We've been talking about rom-coms overall and hitting certain formulas. So the sort of like 11th hour coming apart that then has to be repaired at the end with a grand gesture. It's fairly similar to the other Drew Barrymore movie we've done, Wedding Singer.
Yep.
That's more a miscommunication and then a song-based grand gesture at the end in front of a captive audience that didn't sign up for this.
Yes.
But yeah, so rom-com wise, how do you guys feel about this? Because I feel like it's pretty, we were saying standard feels like putting it down, but it is sort of just hitting the kind of normal beats with a little bit of a twist.
It was formulaic, but it was still good and enjoyable, you know?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I honestly think it might be my favorite rom-com.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's comfort food for me. You know, this is my comfort food movie. And I was really happy because I haven't watched it in so long. I really liked this movie in high school when it came out. And I feel like if I go and revisit some of my favorite high school movies, I'm like, ooh, this didn't age well for me. But this one did. You know, I watched it and I was like, no, this is still really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna be like that same like formulaic method, you just do it well, and they did it fantastically.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's fine. Like, go ahead.
And it's got some good songs in it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel like if I'm watching a rom-com, I'm watching it for that formula. You know, I know what I'm getting ahead of time. And I feel like there's like a comfort in that. Even it's like rewatching a show, but with rom-coms, you can watch something new and still get that feeling because you know how it's all going to go. You
Like
know all the
people who
beats it's going
watch
to hit.
Hallmark movies, like
Yeah, you know all the beats it's going to hit, and there's like a comfort to that. So it's more rather than like trying to surprise me, it's, you know, putting a little bit of a twist on it, nothing that's going to really throw me off, and then just hitting all the spots really well. And I feel like they do that, you know?
And that's basically the rap on it when it comes out from critics, is that it's at worst perfectly pleasant. And a lot of people are like, yeah, this is, you know, it's a rom-com, but it has, you know, standout performance from Hugh Grant, especially. He gets singled out, and it's a really fun time, even if it's not going to blow your mind with anything new in the genre, but it does a good job of doing what it's trying to accomplish. And
It's funny that came up because I just watched the Jurassic World trailer today, and my first thought was,
we should have talked about that.
I'm gonna see so many movies that I enjoy that are better than this. I don't know if I'll see a movie that I'm going to enjoy as much as this one. I'm gonna enjoy the shit out of that movie.
It's just insane to me that Chris Pratt gets to be on the same screen as Sam Neill and Laura Dern, who are just some of the best actors of the last, 30, 40 years, and some of the really just grade A freaks of bizarre movies of the last few decades. And Chris Pratt's just like, a big loaf of Wonder Bread. So, I mean,
Yes.
That's a little harsh.
No.
I don't know.
I'm gonna
It's
enjoy
whatever.
the shit out of it. I do
It's-
not
Yeah,
care.
no, I was like, oh,
That's
man.
how I felt
feel
about the
bad for-
Spider-Man movie.
Sam Neill's in it.
I'm like, this isn't going to be
Has
Oscar
Sam Neill
worthy,
been in
but I'm
anything
gonna
recently?
like it.
Because Laura
Yeah,
Dern's
still
still
good.
kind of
Good
fucking
time.
crushing it.
Sam Neill's actually in a lot of stuff. He just doesn't take huge parts anymore. And he's in smaller stuff. He's 74.
He is
and
old.
he mostly lives on a vineyard in
Good for
New
him.
Zealand or Australia.
That's nice.
So he has to commute pretty far to get into a big Hollywood movie. But he has been working a lot in TV recently, especially.
I was gonna say, I feel like I haven't seen him in any big roles.
I
in a
hope he's
long
like,
time.
hey, anybody want to shoot on a vineyard?
Yeah.
It's fun. Even his Wikipedia picture is just him in like a cardigan and he's like looks very comfortably bearded. And he's just got a wine glass and he's just going like that. Like,
Now-
yeah, Sam Neill's just chilling, man.
Good
I
for
just
him.
picture him now as the friend that lives too far away that no one wants to come visit.
Yeah, quite
I don't want to
possibly.
commute.
So he's like a working actor who's in a lot of great movies, and then when Jurassic Park hits and he becomes like a famous star, he's I think already in his 40s at that point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like I think he's like 45 when Jurassic Park comes out.
Yeah.
So, it's not like he's going to make superhero movies.
Well,
after that.
how old is Laura Dern?
She's younger than that, I think.
Because I feel like I guess I can't
we
think
have
of what
we
she
have the
would-
ability to check.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can't think of what she's been in recently, but I feel like she.
Marriage Story.
Oh, you're right. I was gonna say I feel like she's still crushing it.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't
Marriage
see her in
Story,
as much.
she was in Big Little Lies. She was one of the main characters in that show. Yeah, she's 55, so she's actually
Oh,
way-
she's
Oh,
quite a
wow.
bit younger than him.
Yeah. I just assumed it was a 10-year age difference. I guess it was more like a 20-year age difference.
Yeah. Wow. So she must have been like late 20s when Jurassic Park came out.
That makes their relationship in
looking
Jurassic
for-
Park a lot weirder.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
That podcast might be a little off the rails.
It's fine. We're still on good time. Anyway, so this is the second Drew Barrymore episode that we've done. The first time we've talked about a Hugh Grant movie. And a quick programming note, we'll do another one next week. We're doing Notting Hill next week. So there you go. Now you know. Hugh Grant was, for a time, like one of the most famous people and one of the most covered tabloid guys in Hollywood. He's not, I wouldn't necessarily say like he's faded at this point. He's just, well, he's older now. He's in his 60s or whatever. He was just, I think he's been nominated for some TV stuff. He was in The Undoing, which people got really into in the last couple of years. And this is one of a few movies that he does some singing and dancing in. Also Love Actually and Paddington 2.
He's in Paddington 2?
Oh, that's why it showed up as related.
Oh, that makes sense.
He is the villain in Paddington 2.
He's the villain in Paddington 2?
Paddington 2 ends with a wonderful song and dance number by Hugh Grant.
Paddington has villains?
Yeah. Oh, man. So no one here has seen Paddington 2. Okay. P2 is the core cultural text of our times.
Okay.
Apparently.
So that's awesome to know that Hugh Grant's the villain in this. Because when I was watching music and lyrics, the immediate thing I came to my mind is I love Drew Barrymore. I've seen a bunch of Drew Barrymore movies. Is she ever the villain? Because we were talking about a few episodes ago about Disney, how they're like their new formula is like, is this the villain? Or like, oh, it's not really this person. This is the villain kind of thing. I want someone to fool me. Drew Barrymore ends up being the villain. I would never see it coming in a million years. No, there's no way Drew Barrymore is the villain in anything. She can't be.
Yeah, I just wanted to see, nothing really comes up just from is Drew Barrymore a villain in anything? I'm trying to think of anything.
There's no way.
I don't know. Well, she's produced a lot of her own movies too, so she hasn't cast herself as a villain too often.
Conceited.
Yeah.
She's, as we said last time in the Wedding Singer episode, we don't have to go too far into Drew again because we already did, but, she's a child actor who had a lot of issues early on and came out the other side and seems to be one of the few genuinely good people that everyone enjoys the company of in Hollywood.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
She's hiding something.
So anyway, yeah, so Hugh Grant is this huge star for a long time. And any favorite Hugh Grant roles?
Probably this
one
one.
I've seen.
This is the only one. You haven't seen anything else by him?
I don't think
I feel like I have, but I can't think of anything.
So another one that's a little bit more rom than com is 4 Weddings and a Funeral. That movie is really good, but didn't quite fit for this month, but it was one of the options, just so the listener knows.
Is there what are his big other big name movies?
2 weeks notice.
No. You already said you haven't seen Notting Hill. No. Love Actually.
Wait, did we just? No, I didn't do a podcast on that.
He's in a lot of rom-coms, huh? I didn't realize he was in so many rom-coms.
Love Actually.
Well, he has
so
this
familiar.
His sort of mumbling, charming thing is in that. We mentioned before Bridget Jones' Diary.
No, that's horrible. Is the reason I don't see him
pretty good.
anymore
I
is
don't know.
because they got rid of rom-coms?
Oh, that could be it. They just killed his whole line of work.
I mean, maybe he is.
He's
again,
a has-been in real life now.
Again, he's in his 60s and has been. He is an Emmy Award nominated guy just in the last couple of years.
I feel like it's harder to be a rom-com star once you're in your 60s.
Not impossible.
Didn't stop Jack Nicholson.
I was.
Right,
He did it.
Mhm. Spoiler alert, guys.
He has to go to the hospital again and again.
You didn't listen to the
I
podcast?
didn't yet. No.
I did.
I told you I'm behind.
I'm 8 episodes behind at this point.
I'm not 8 episodes behind. I'm only a few.
I've watched every
Only
episode.
been 8 episodes. It's not true. There's been 22. But
The last one I listened to was Groundhog Day.
I
and I
want
very much
a-
enjoyed it.
Late to the movies super fan,
Thank
sure.
we sell T-shirts.
No, I wanted to say super fan on.
All right, I'll put up a design that says super fan. All right, you heard it here first. You can check the T Public store for the super fan T-shirt. It says it has the normal logo, but
Cost
it'll say
$5
super
more.
fan, and it'll have a picture of Greg photoshopped onto Kermit.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
And it costs more, obviously.
And, yeah, and it costs more. So Hugh Grant's a big star in the late 90s, mid 90s into the early thousands. He's on top of the world. And that's the end of our Hugh Grant segment where we talked about everything but.
This was the end of the segment titled "Granted."
Granted. So overall, Romcom Month, we've been talking about romantic comedies. We already mentioned a little bit about the formulaicness. This is pretty much like the platonic ideal of a romantic comedy, I think, right?
Yeah.
We did, Something's Gotta Give, which is a weird version of a romantic comedy.
Yes.
Sleepless in Seattle, which is also a weird version of a romantic comedy. Yeah. This one, you just have to make like a couple qualifications. It's basically just what jobs they do and how they bond, which is over work, which is a cool twist on it. But it is pretty much just a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
It's
I
good.
wouldn't say that's a twist. I'd say that's just standard romantic comedy.
Yeah, it's good.
Know what I like in this one too? For their like them bonding, it is all over work. It's over the course of like 3 days or 2 days or
About
something.
3 days.
Yeah, it's all over like 3 days. I like that they show time passing by showing us the skyline and then like the sunset or sunrise, and with them like just chatting with each other like over the thing.
I like those. So I mentioned before that there's not a lot to talk about in the direction, but that I did like.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot.
The sort of interstitials with them talking and like working out the melody, and it's just over the skylines, and
Yeah.
it was
that part was them working out the lyrics. The melody came later.
okay. And I like that it wasn't just the same shots you always see of New York. It was like different parts of the skyline.
Yeah, and it's just them like having conversation that isn't super important. It's just like to show them like kind of bonding, and I like that a lot.
Yeah. It was kind of fun that it only took place over like 3 days too, because like they were up the whole time. Like some of it was like the wee hours in the morning, and I feel like that's when you have like deep conversations with people. So I feel like it was fun. It was a fun vibe.
I feel like if you spent 3 days talking to somebody throughout the night, you're gonna have a pretty decent bond.
I did like that, and then them working through the night gave the opportunity for Drew Barrymore to sing funny lyrics about wanting breakfast.
Yeah. I could be inspired with just a piece of bread.
I often feel similarly. One thing that like the working lets them do is have those two characters just be in a room together for a really long time. It has, I guess I keep deciding that maybe it's a little bit better made than I was giving it credit to at the beginning, but it has this sort of vibe of them. You can tell they're spending a lot of time just in this room together working this out, and the scenes go on a little bit longer than they usually do in movies like this. And they're really bonding and talking together, and you get a lot of personality that way. And it's just these two characters being really charming, and you can see them bouncing off of each other and building on what the other one's doing. And you get why they can decide that they're meant for each other after like 2.5 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that a lot. I also like that it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic because he's that like washed up 80s star, because he is to some people extremely famous. Like he's a icon to some people, even any washed up, like you said, some random person from Wham, someone is their super fan. You know what I mean?
Yep.
A lot of someone's, honestly.
I thought it was funny. I always think about the relationship with the sister, because like the first time what they met, like she's just like, gushing over this guy. I'm like, this is going to be a long-term relationship. Like, is that going to be weird in the future?
Probably.
Yeah.
The last thing, I know we mentioned it early in the beginning, is the outro for this movie, that like exit. It's so like good. It's like the perfect thing I want in a rom-com. Especially too, because like I guess they get together in the end, and like, but you do want like a little bit of closure, especially in this one where there's like a few different things that are covered, with like the author and like a couple of these like side characters and stuff. So like closing out with those little like where it looks like something you would see on TV was like really good.
That was the best review.
Yeah, that was the best review. Them talking about like Pop getting into the Hall of Fame and Colin like injuring his hip.
That was good.
I feel like I told you to write something down because you took the notes, but I can't remember what they were. So, it was about the Rotten Tomatoes score, because when we pulled it up to watch it, it showed like what critics thought and what audiences like, and it wasn't.
It's not good.
It wasn't very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a pretty tepid response. People are just like, it's good. It's pleasant.
It was like 63%.
Well, I feel like it should have a better rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but I feel like it'd be tough to find someone who's like, this movie, it's the best movie. It's my favorite movie. But I feel like it's also tough to find people who are just like, this movie's just bad.
Yeah, so I think 63 is pretty fair.
I thought just because of how like it works, where like you have to, in order for it to get a rotten, you have to be like, this is bad, right?
It's just tough too with a rom-com too. I think you'd be hard pressed to find one without over a 7, like anywhere, like over a 70%, just because it's a rom-com.
That's true.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Let's talk about our own ratings in that case, since we're already on that tip. For music and lyrics as a rom-com and then as a movie, what kind of ratings would you give this? You can do it out of 5, you can do it out of 10, you can do it out of 7. I don't care. I would lean higher for rom-com than
Way higher.
Yeah, definitely.
We've been talking a lot about this. I think it's at least an 8 as a rom-com.
Yeah.
Of like hitting those beats, maybe even closer to a 9.
I was going to say, I could potentially give it a 9 out of 10 as a rom-com. Like I said, I think my favorite rom-com.
Yeah, I'm going like 9.5. I feel like as a rom-com, it hits everything that you want it to hit. Plus, I feel like the music kind of like puts it a little bit more over the top.
Is awesome.
It's really good music, which I feel like you're not really expecting. And I just smiled the whole time. It was really fun to watch it.
Yeah.
Enjoyable experience.
I'd give it a 9, and I'd say I definitely liked it over all of the other rom-coms I've been on the podcast to talk about. So,
as a movie, how did you guys feel about it?
Way lower.
That's a little bit harder to judge.
It's a lot harder to judge.
This is more
because it's hard to.
Because you can't put this up against like
Silence of the Lambs.
Best Picture winner.
Yeah, it is.
Silence
It's
of the
really
Lambs
hard.
and Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Because I would never say this is a bad movie because it is a
Unfortunately, that is what I'm asking you to do.
I know. It is a very enjoyable watch. But if you want me to put it up against like Best Pictures and
it doesn't have a ton
Lamb,
of deep content.
5 out of 10 maybe.
Yeah, it's just a
compared to
little
Mank.
guy. I don't want to hurt
What?
it.
Compared to Mank.
Oh, 12 out of 10. I'll give this 12 Citizen Kanes out of 10. No, but like compared to like all those other movies, probably 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. It's a movie.
Call Me by Your Name
Yeah,
is a
pretty much
romance,
right there.
Hey, compared to that one, yeah, it's 10 out of 10 now.
I'll stick with Rotten Tomatoes. I'll give them the 6.3.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That's
probably around a
that's
6.
probably fair.
I think
That's
probably around a
fair.
6.
Yeah.
I had a good time.
But yeah, out of rom-coms, 9.
Yeah.
It's everything you want in a rom-com.
Yeah. I think it's particularly good for me because it's really my ratio of com to rom that I want.
Which is 85% calm.
I guess maybe the rom could have been a little bit more. It was really heavy on the com, right?
Yeah, that's how I like it.
No, it is. Yeah, but I just mean as like a rom-com. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
It doesn't have the right ratio of rom to com for you.
Yeah, they focused a lot on the jokes, which was really fun. But I don't know if they had like the chemistry.
It's
really.
like Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore, and after this movie, Hugh Grant has said that he's pretty sure Drew Barrymore hates him.
Oh.
And I think that's him deflecting because I think what he's really saying is I think Drew Barrymore hates me because I was a real dick on set.
Oh.
I believe is what he really was implying with that. That's what he said in a few interviews in a couple of years after this movie came out. Recently, he was on Drew Barrymore's show, her like web series. So I guess they're cool now.
Did not know that was.
I think like in 2021, she interviewed him for one of her shows. So I guess they're cool now. He did say he regretted saying that after the fact because he thought that was pretty unfair way to characterize it.
Wait, I don't know. I feel like he's more saying a comment on himself. Like I feel like I was an asshole on set. And
Right, but he didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying I'm reading into it, saying that's probably why he thinks that,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
or that's probably is what actually happened. Why he would now be sort of deflecting, being like, "Oh, I guess she hates me."
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore, famous Hollywood curmudgeon that hates people.
I've heard that.
So
Yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, that story is probably not going to fly."
Yeah.
So this is a little addendum to the end of this episode. We just thought maybe it'd be fun. Since Oscar nominees came out and we were talking about them, this being the first year that there's 10 Oscar nominees, not everyone's familiar with all these movies. There's in fact been a ton of talk this week about, from one of the James or Jimmys that host a late night show that they're not making enough populist choices and people don't know what these movies are. So I figured we'd go through a couple of these and see what my friends, people who are into the Oscars, know about these movies.
Disclaimer, I think I know what one of these movies are. It's Dune is I think the only one I actually know.
I know Robbie's seen Dune.
I have.
If you want
Oh,
I
and
can
Don't Look
pretend.
Up.
Oh.
Yeah, and Don't Look Up.
I know
It's
Don't Look Up is
It's about
Asteroid maybe. I don't know what most of these are. And it's going to be interesting though that we are doing this because this will be like the first year I go into the Oscars where I actually know a little bit about what these movies are. So it's really going to change how I do my picks on which movies I watch first, because normally it's by most interesting.
King
name.
Richard, I guess, is the one that sort of spurred this conversation.
Yes, because we had $1 million on it being medieval.
And do
Yeah.
we give our example of the father?
Yeah,
Okay.
not on record.
Oh, well, I mean
Oh,
on
yeah.
record.
Yeah, last year we saved that movie for almost dead last to watch because
The father.
The father.
The Father, yeah, because I was convinced that was a movie about priests.
I still don't know what it's about.
Here we
You
can open up.
haven't recovered from the two popes a couple years ago.
I did-
That's what it was,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, it was that we watched the two
The
popes
Father.
and yeah.
It's not about priests.
What? Take a guess.
It's about
Don't overthink it.
Anthony Hopkins, isn't it? I
Hmm.
don't know if that helps.
He's
Does
the main
not.
character.
it's about
He's very old now,
yes.
and he plays someone who's very old.
You might
Oh.
say he's the titular character.
It's about mafia family. He's the
Ooh,
god.
that's a good guess.
Good guess, but you're overthinking it. He's just a dad.
Okay, so it's from his point of view, which is unusual because I feel like I haven't seen a movie about this topic done from this character's point of view.
Interesting. Oh, it's the senile old guy one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Someone with dementia.
He's got dementia, but it's from his point of view. So like
Gotcha.
as he travels around like his home, like you are as lost as he is.
I,
Things change.
I remember
The
talking
sets
about
are
People
changing weird.
change.
The actors are changing, getting swapped out, and they don't explain what's happening, and he's so confused, and you're so confused.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. That was really
It
cool.
was
Cool movie.
awesome.
Mm.
It was probably I think it was did it end up winning? It was the best like
He won for best actor.
yeah.
He won for best actor. Did it win screenplay? It would have
Yes.
been. It would have been adapted.
Yes.
Okay. What do you guys think Power of the Dog's about?
So full disclosure, I do know it includes a cowboy.
Ranchers.
Ranchers. Cowboy ranchers.
I know there's a nude scene in it. Right?
Couple.
We were talking about
Dog.
that.
That is the information I led with to try and entice you guys to watch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go off on a limb and say it has nothing to do with dogs.
It's about a small cattle farm that's the underdog, and they show their power by being the best cattle farm.
I would have bet money on it being
There's cattle.
about a cowboy suffering from alcoholism.
I'm going to say
There's some drinking.
I'm going to say it's a small town, well not small town, but like a small like ranch kind of business. Somebody's come and taken their cattle. They have to go and get them back.
There is some business considerations.
I need some hints. I don't know about you guys, but
Oh well, I don't want to tell you. It ultimately turns into this kind of Hitchcockian sort of like really delicately plotted thing where all the details matter. So I don't really want to give too much away because this movie is so good.
okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yep.
That's fine.
But yeah, if
we can
that-
laugh about this later once we watch
You
it.
can
Yeah.
super cut in like the answer for the viewers.
Yeah, it won't be. It's actually about Vietnam. It's
Could
not.
be. That's
It's
kind of how
an
this rolls.
allegory.
Hmm.
It's not. What do you guys think Belfast's about?
This one is tough. I know it's a town.
Tied for third most Oscar nominations this year.
Say, is it about Germany?
Is it a war movie?
Is Belfast in Germany? I
think
thought it was
it
in
is.
like Ireland or
No, it's
something.
Ireland.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
You're all wrong so
oh,
far.
shoot.
oh, Scotland?
I mean, you're close. It's in
UK,
Northern
right?
Northern Ireland.
Oh,
Oh.
come on. Yeah.
That's it. They'll kill you for that.
Okay.
So it's a movie about someone
Pretty
who,
close.
who thinks Belfast is
It was
in
before there
regular
was a Northern Ireland.
and
That's
they're-
when this movie is set.
It's weird. I think it's just because it's named after like a town, get Manchester by the Sea vibes.
Mm.
There are kids involved.
Yeah, so I'm like immediately thinking like the struggles of like almost like another family life kind of thing. Someone and their kids struggling in their place in Belfast. I don't know.
That's closer.
This is historical, I think.
Is
I think
it?
it's a historical movie.
It is a period piece. Yes.
Yep. Oh, there we go. See?
If it's in Northern Ireland, it's not about the IRA and all that jazz. I think it's a mistake.
You're pretty close. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's Kenneth Branagh wrote and directed this movie, and it's based on his sort of memory, kind of memoirish because it's not one-to-one, and the main character isn't him, but it's about his growing up in Belfast during the Troubles.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And his parents are the hottest parents that have ever existed. It's,
Nice.
Jamie Dornan and Katrina Balfe, who got bizarrely snubbed for Best Supporting Actress in favor of Judi Dench, who did get in for Best Supporting Actress. And Kieran Hines also got in for a supporting actor from this movie. I'm going down the list of like most nominated stuff. It's Power of the Dog, then Dune, which I know you guys already know about, unless Ray doesn't.
I'm gonna be honest. I say I know Dune. I really don't know what Dune's about. I know it's like a
Spice.
Worms,
sci-fi, but I thought it might have been like one of those weird sci-fis where it's also like not steampunk, but like retro, where like you have some really advanced technologies, but then you also have
I'm thinking
some
like
things
Mad
that are like
Max, Fury
dystopian
Road,
kind of. Yeah, like
yeah.
Many machines on X.
yeah. So it's like you have like sci-fi stuff, but a lot of dystopian
Yeah.
stuff going on. And I know it has.
I mean, we're in a post-Butlerian jihad world, so
I know it's like sand, like the wherever they are, it's all sand.
it is sand.
And I know there's a giant worm involved.
There's a few of them.
When is a gift not a gift?
What is it?
When is a gift not a gift?
This movie kicks ass. You guys got to watch it.
I remember seeing a trailer for it and being like way more confused than I was prior to seeing a trailer.
It is definitely one that I am curious how people take it in if they haven't read the books or don't immediately go and read the books.
Yeah.
Or really just the first one, because this only covers about half of the
of
first
it.
book.
So I'm immediately assuming it's more political than actiony.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because I know the main.
I'd say it's pretty split evenly, no?
Especially, the movie especially is pretty split.
Yeah.
That's fair.
The main actor is
Because
Timothy.
you got to sell tickets.
Yeah, Timothy Chalamet.
Yep.
Oh, it's him.
Yeah, and I just don't.
Chowms.
I just don't picture him as like an action star, so that's why I was immediately like, oh, it's
Well,
gonna be.
that's kind of, yeah, you'll see, but that's kind of the point. But you also got Oscar Isaac in there and Jason Momoa and Josh Brolin, Thanos himself, but he's not purple in this one.
Is there a simple like 3-4 sentence?
Whoever controls the spice controls the world.
Next most, I don't think we got through Nightmare Alley, right?
Yes.
Cool.
First guess,
Well-
still bowling alley movie.
Bowling Alley movie.
No, my serious guess though, prostitution, but not just prostitution when it's I forget what you call it, when they're like trafficking young girls into prostitution.
Oh, I see.
Trafficking?
Yeah, human
Yeah.
trafficking.
Yeah,
guess
you can say trafficking.
Yeah.
I was thinking it's for some reason just reminding me of like Hell's Kitchen, like an area of New York. I feel like Alley is like a
Oh.
specific like Skid Row, you
I
know,
like
but
that.
like it's some like there's like a Alley where there's like a high crime rate or something. I don't
I
know.
like that.
So yeah, Nightmare Alley is used as sort of a catch-all for that kind of neighborhood.
Oh, is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Ah.
So you're pretty much right on par with what the title is. What do you think about what the movie is?
It's gonna be living at a place like
I
that.
was gonna say I'm gonna dial it back and I'm just gonna stick with Skid Row.
Yeah, homelessness.
It's-
Homelessness, I feel like, is a good topic to explore in the Oscars.
Yeah, it's a period piece. Bradley Cooper is this
Ooh,
drifter
period piece.
who ends up working at a carnival in the I guess it's in the 40s, and there's a ton of other. It's a very starry cast. It's directed by Guillermo del Toro in his follow-up to The Shape of Water.
This is
Ooh,
not
okay.
at all what I thought it was. Gonna
It is nominated for cinematography. It looks really cool. It actually got nominated for more Oscars than expected. It's a surprise that it got into really any of these categories because it didn't have a ton of buzz. But in the last few weeks before Oscar voting closed, a lot of big name people, most notable among them, Martin Scorsese, were making a lot of noise about people should watch this. And when people like that say that, people in the Academy go ahead and watch these and then nominate them. So
I'm more excited to see this now. This is not at all what I thought it was going to be.
yeah, the first half of it, actually, just the first hour, and it is about 2.5 hours long. It's a pretty long movie. The first hour is very cool. It's him hanging out at this carnival with a lot of other interesting characters. I'm being purposely vague. And then after that, he leaves the carnival and goes and hangs out in downtown Buffalo and is he's trying to kind of use some stuff that he learned to kind of scam his way through the financial interests of the elite of Buffalo.
Interesting.
So yeah,
I like this. I also like that it's from what's his face?
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
Notorious
That's
GDT.
cool stuff.
Yeah, that Shape of Water was like one of the few movies that I like enjoyed watching that year.
You liked that movie?
Shape of Water better than the rest of the.
Yeah, it wasn't a good year.
The lineup was not good that
I liked
year.
that movie. I feel
don't
like
watch a
everybody
lot
like
of
shit on that.
Oscars movies. I've seen that though, and I thought it was one of the worst fucking movies I've ever seen in my
Shape
life.
of Water is my mank.
That movie lineup that year was
Shape
not
of
good.
Water.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
man.
probably like the best movie that
It was
year.
bad.
Wow.
That was
It was
bad
a
year.
bad year.
That was one of those movies I was like forced to watch on our cruise ship, where it's like one of the 3 movies they play.
It's
That's
a
the
bad
only
cruise
reason I
ship
saw it.
movie.
is
I
a
guess
bad
there's like it
cruise ship
says
movie.
water in the title.
Yep.
Yeah. It was nice because it was like an Oscar movie and like not quite what you expect, like a girl having sex with a fish as like a. You saw a different movie.
Lady in the Water.
Yeah.
You saw one of the worst M. Night Shyamalan movies. Instead.
So, guess the plot
I see the confusion.
of The Shape of
I
Water.
already told him about the
I've
fish
heard
lady
it.
sex.
As soon as you said the had sex with the fish, I was like, oh no, that's a different one I've heard of, but I haven't seen. Okay. Well, I think you can see where my initial reaction was coming from. It's like,
Yeah, I was-
Lady in the Water.
I was gonna say you were like one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I was like, it wasn't that bad.
No.
Nightmare Alley has 4 nominations. So does Drive My Car.
Oh God, this could be about fucking
It's
Drive
the,
My. It could be about anything.
it's the Baby Driver sequel.
Like this movie
not.
could be about anything. Drive My Car. This is not a name where I'd ever be able to guess what it is. This one, like I am, I'm totally.
So I
clueless.
know a little bit of information about this.
Okay.
Does it actually have anything to do with cars?
Yes.
Oh, that helps me a lot, actually.
So
It's-
this is
It's about
also
it's a
nominated
road
for-
movie. It's about a road trip, kind of.
Oh, is it? Okay, I wasn't gonna guess that.
It's about Tesla's fucked up autopilot and all the people it's killed.
Well, this is also nominated for international, isn't it?
Yes, it
So
is.
this is a Japanese movie.
It is a Japanese movie.
Oh,
So that's a little bit more information.
Japanese movie about cars, or that has to do with a car.
I don't know why, but I'm immediately going towards teenagers. I don't know
They're
why that's-
doing the road from to Tokaido.
They're not. Are
in their
they?
car?
This is a teenage coming of age movie.
Are they doing when Mitsubishi forced Korean slaves to manufacture cars during World War II?
They are not. This is a modern day story.
Oh, okay.
Teenage coming of
fucked
age.
up.
Then
So, yeah, I mean, you guys will never guess this. So it's directed by Ryusuke Hamaguchi, based on a short story by Haruki Murakami. So this movie is one of the most awarded by critics circles and critics organizations around the country. And that's kind of being seen as a success that it got all the way to having 4 Oscar nominations, which is pretty crazy. Not something that happens a lot with international films. There's multiple international films that are nominated outside of international this year, which is real progress, even at the same time not nominating any black women for Best Actress.
or having any Best Actress movies in. Best
Or having any Best Actress movies in Best Picture. So, good with the bad. It's a story about
Just can't get it right.
a man who's lost his wife, who's a theater director, who is on his way to a theater festival to direct a multilingual adaptation of Chekhov's Uncle Vanya, which you probably wouldn't have guessed.
That was my next guess. Hope this one wins Best Picture.
That'd be cool. It's
Parasite
not.
did.
It's probably
That's what
not in
I'm
a bunch
thinking.
of stuff.
Mm.
Parasite was in a lot more technical categories and had a lot more precursors, I'd say.
This is a Best Picture nominee, though, right?
So the reason why this is so crazy is Parasite
Yes.
is a Korean production but it's Bong Joon-ho who had come. He had already made movies for Netflix. He had made Hollywood movies before that, and then went back to Korea to make Parasite. But this is a guy who is just a Japanese filmmaker, Ryusuke Hamaguchi,
Just
and I mean, like, he hasn't
you
come
joined
over.
the Academy.
I mean, Bong Joon-ho made Snowpiercer. He had already made like a movie with Captain America in it at the point that he made Parasite, and he made Okja for Netflix. So he'd already done stuff
Yeah.
that had crossed over, and he hadn't, Hamaguchi hadn't really crossed over before. He's in there. He's an adapted screenplay. He's in, I think he got in director also. Worst Person in the World from Norway got in to screenplay as well. So it's cool. Flea is in a couple other categories besides international.
Drive My Car. It sounds like it didn't get into a lot of technical. It sounded like, but it got a lot of the big ones.
Yeah, I got some big ones. So that's being seen as like a really cool thing. Once again, when these big kind of successful at the Oscars international movies get into some categories, none of the actors go with them, which is, Coda What do you guys think Coda's about?
That's all capitals, right?
All caps.
Like Mank.
Oh, God, is there an exclamation
There's
point
not
at
an
the end?
exclamation point.
Oh, Coda.
Coda does stand for something.
I know. That's why I was like, oh, what the fuck does it stand for? I'll give you guys a second, but I have no idea. I would love to know what CODA stands for.
I don't know if this helps. It was filmed in Gloucester, Massachusetts.
Come on to Adderall.
Yeah. Gloucester, Massachusetts.
None
What
of
are they
those
doing up
words
there?
are correct for the letters.
Is it Manchester by the Sea Part 2?
Now that you said it's in Gloucester, I imagine whatever the C is in CODA doesn't sound like a C.
No.
Like, I want to pronounce that C like you wouldn't Worcester.
I feel like I've heard that abbreviation before too, but like,
I don't know how you do that.
I don't know.
You don't do that if it's at the beginning of a word.
I want to
What are you
pronounce.
talking about?
Like Worcester, how it's not spelled
Oh.
Worcester. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I see
I
what you're
want to
saying.
pronounce the C in
They're talking about
CODA.
the way they pronounce C's like in Central Mass. I was like, what are you
No,
like
no,
with
like-
with an accent? What do you mean?
When we stick it in the middle of one of our town names and the C is
Yeah.
just gone.
Just gone.
So this is Oda.
Oda.
Maybe.
Osta.
Osta.
See, but it's there in Rochester, just not Worcester.
give us what one of the words is, but don't tell us which one.
Child. What do you mean? Don't tell us which ones they have.
So is this the one that starts with the D? Child of child over
It was child of.
child of. You capitalize. Why would you even put the O for of?
You don't use of. And,
You don't-
No.
Child of dangerous answers. That's wrong.
That'd be cool. This is like a real term that exists.
I feel
In the
like
world.
I feel like I've heard it.
I mean, that wouldn't make sense if it wasn't.
Child of divorce actions.
No, but it is something about parents.
I'm immediately like, oh,
Child of domestic abuse.
No.
No. Good.
At a certain point, it feels probably pretty fucked up to be like making a game out of this.
well, what is it?
It just does.
Child of deaf adults.
Oh, I see where you're going with that. Yeah, it does feel like.
Yeah, at a certain point, it kind of feels icky. So it's about the only hearing member of a deaf family.
Oh, that sounds awesome. All
Yeah,
about
I'm
that.
immediately into it.
The father in that family is nominated for supporting actor Troy
My-
Kotsur.
My immediate question is the parents deaf in real life?
Troy Kotsur is, and it's Marlee Matlin, who was the first deaf actor or actress to win an Academy Award
Oh, good on them.
back in the
Yeah.
day.
That's good.
So all the people in it are actually deaf, besides the people who aren't who the characters aren't.
Good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super into this now.
Do you guys know what The Lost Daughter is about?
Nope.
Okay.
The Lost Daughter.
Is it anything like The Lost World?
It's stressful.
I immediately think of something to do with war.
She's like a rejected half sibling.
Spinster sister.
It's about Olivia Colman going on vacation
Cool.
Dope.
in Greece.
Sounds nice.
Mamma Mia too.
In the book, it's Italy, but in the movie, it's Greece, or vice versa. So I might be mixing those up. Based on a friend of mine who read the book, that's what she said. So Olivia Colman's in it, and it intercuts with flashbacks where the same character is played by Jessie Buckley, who is awesome. They both got nominated. Coleman in Best Actress, Jessie Buckley in Supporting Actress, and I think it's only there's only been a handful of times that actors have been nominated for playing the same character.
That's weird because Olivia Colman in The Father
Yeah.
was also played by a different
Yes.
actress. in
Yeah,
the
but it's
same
like it's Olivia
character.
Colman in present day, and then 20 years ago,
Yeah.
it's Jessie Buckley.
Yeah.
playing
It's
that
just funny.
character. Yeah.
But yeah, it is really
Quite
funny. Like literally just last year, she shared her character with another actress, and now she's doing it again.
Do they only give one of them the award?
No, they're in
Yeah.
different categories.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
You just happen to be you'd be credited as playing the same character,
Okay.
but
It's allowed.
Interesting.
it's really funny though.
Wait, but is that it?
It's just her going on vacation.
There's
There's
like a lot of
flashbacks to her.
there's a lot of weird stuff that happens, and it gets kind of thrillery.
Interesting.
Oh,
So-
that's cool.
Yeah.
And this isn't nominated for Best Picture.
No, but I really liked it. It's the directorial debut of Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Oh,
She also wrote the movie, so
interesting. Interesting.
So I think it also got in for adapted screenplay. For
I mean, we have a
Maggie
lot of
Gyllenhaal.
movies to watch.
Yeah, realistically, we're not catching this one because we got
It's right on Netflix, so it's easy to watch. Dakota Johnson's in it too.
problem.
It'd be nice to see one like Best Actress nominee.
And if they're gonna see one, Olivia Colman is kind of where I like to be, but
She's in Mitchells vs. Machines too, isn't she?
she is. She's pal.
Yeah, she's pal. Do you guys know what the worst person in the world is?
Me.
Ooh.
So sad.
No, I am interested though.
Is this a Best Picture nominee?
It isn't in Best Picture. It's in International and in
you
Original
said
Screenplay.
This is the where's from Denmark or something?
It is from Norway.
Norway. Worst person in the world. It's from Norway. Oh, it has to be an American.
Not necessarily. It is kind of it's like a dark rom-com.
Oh.
We should cover for this
A
month.
dark rom-dramedy playing soon at the Avon in Providence. But as we're recording this, opening wide this weekend across America, it's playing in multiple places. You can find it there. It's apparently a really freaking good movie that I really want to see real bad. And yeah, so that is our guesses about what Oscars are doing.
So now my top pick prior to this conversation, number one watch, was Power of the Dog. Scratch that now. That one's down a bit. I think number one now is Coda.
Mm-hmm.
That's on Apple TV. So there you go. Or
Who
Apple
has
Plus,
that?
whatever the service is technically.
Who has that?
Well, whoever's watching Ted Lasso, it seems like a lot of people. Okay.
Nope.
Are you watching any of these, Robbie?
I'll probably watch some of them. We'll see what happens. We'll figure it out. There's like a list somewhere.
Yeah, so
We got our Discord
you know,
set up, ready to go.
Power of the Dog is on Netflix and is really good. Nightmare Alley is now on HBO and Hulu, weirdly. You can borrow Dune from me. That doesn't apply to the listeners, but
Already seen Dune.
So yeah, Coda went up quite a bit on my list. Power of the Dog went down. Not a lot, but a little bit. I think that was top. I think that was my most looking forward to. So it's dropped, but
yeah, I don't think Licorice Pizza's on streaming yet.
Licorice Pizza is pretty high up on my list, although we didn't talk about that one.
Nightmare Alley went up a little bit for me.
I was gonna say Nightmare Alley went up quite a bit.
I was
It's
already
super-
intrigued, but
It's super interesting. The pieces don't all come together for me, but I still really like it. It seems I'm above average in liking it, but I think there's a lot to like in there.
I forgot that one already.
That was the
Bradley
Carney one.
Cooper's
Yeah,
Carney,
yes, thank you.
and then
sorry.
he's a fancy man in Buffalo.
Granted, this year there's not being the bottom of this list isn't bad in my opinion. I feel like we got a really
No, it's a pretty
year.
good. It's a pretty good year.
I'm pretty as far as what I'm excited to see. There's 2 movies out of 7 where I'm like, oh, I gotta slog through this.
Mm.
And now there's 10 movies, and I don't think there's 2 I could name that I'm I really just don't want to watch.
I don't have high hopes for Don't Look Up, but I really love Leo, so I'm excited to watch it.
Same. The key to all these movies is don't look at the runtime before you start them.
Power of the Dog flies. A lot of people are saying they're boring, but I say they're boring.
Oh, no.
We won't look at the runtime. I'm ready for the grand finale.
Grand finale. This is the second to last episode of Romcom Month. We'll be finishing with another Hugh Grant movie, Notting Hill, next week. And then it's Oscars month. All month long, we'll be talking about
It's here.
former Best Picture winners, and then maybe a special episode the weekend before the Oscars where we actually talk about our favorite movies of the year. I don't know. That's a lot to ask you guys to do, so we'll see if
so
you're up
ready.
for it. Okay, cool. So that'll be next month, Oscar Best Picture winners. We haven't finalized the list yet, so I don't want to promise anything and then have to go back on it. But if you do want to get ahead, I think we're at least doing Parasite, because I really want to.
Departed too. I think we're pretty set on.
We are pretty set on that. You can find us on Instagram at latetothemovies_pod. That's the number 2, not spelled out. Same deal for the email. If you have any questions, concerns, feedback, movies you want us to cover in the days to come, latetothemovies@gmail.com. Again, the number 2, not 2 spelled out. You can find us on TeePublic if you want to buy, 20 to 30 shirts before the Oscars happen. You can really impress your friends. Get that new, what do we say? Yeah, you can get the new Late to the Movies Superfan t-shirt. And featuring the Henson Company's intellectual property. We'll see if that flies. Well, we have to run it by the lawyers. But the normal t-shirt's there still. And yeah, that's it for today. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Whoa.
I'm gonna win.